to millionaires and billionaires in our country. It is morally wrong with me. And right now, Donald Trump and his Republican supporters in the United States House of Representatives, they refuse to even negotiate on this issue. They are in a political witness protection program all around the country. 5 weeks they've been on vacation, refusing to come to Washington in order to negotiate on an end to this crisis. They could end the crisis with one vote: restore the health care and restore the food for families in our country and reopen the government. They can get it done. Very simple. They refuse to negotiate. They refuse to come back to Washington. That means right now, Massachusetts, over 2 million people have food insecurity. 1/3 of all Massachusetts residents are running low or cannot afford to buy enough food each month. In the past year, 1 in 3 Massachusetts households with children experience child-level food insecurity. To be clear, that means that a child in each was hungry, skipped a meal, did not eat for a full day because the family did not have the food, could not afford the food for their children. That is unacceptable. That is immoral. Programs like SNAP help families put food on their tables. About 1.1 million citizens in Massachusetts are about to lose their SNAP benefit. 1.1 million people. The funding that makes it possible to put food on the tables of their families. This is a low point in American history. 1 in 6 people in Massachusetts will lose their ability to provide food for their families. Next Saturday, November 1st, over 1 million hungry people across our state will lose their food support. And this is at a time when the cost of living and the price of groceries are skyrocketing. Trump and the MAGA Republicans are demolishing the White House to build a gilded ballroom for their billionaire buddies and their parties. And they're more concerned with that than they are making sure that people have need for their families to put it on their table. So we're in a crisis right now. Massachusetts' own Paul Farmer once said, "If I am hungry, that is a material problem. If someone else is hungry, that is a spiritual problem." Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans are spiritually empty. Well, the most vulnerable of Americans can't and won't be able to put food on their kitchen table. Donald Trump is building the $300 billion ballroom next to the White House. There's no lack of food in the richest country in the world. This is a complete lack of conscience shown by the Republicans and the MAGA supporters all across this country. There is no reason for grandma or grandpa to have to skip meals. There is no reason for a student to hide their stomach rumblings at school in shame. There is no reason for cupboards or refrigerators to be empty. There is no reason to allow a baby to cry in want of food. There is no reason why it is too hard to provide $6.20 a day for SNAP benefits to Americans when Trump and Reeves can give $1.5 billion in tax breaks to the wealthiest people in our country. That isn't just an economic failure. That isn't just a civic failure. That is an utter moral failure for the Trump administration. Trump and Republicans are disgusting in their cruelty to those who are most vulnerable in our society. Mahatma Gandhi was right when he said, "There's enough on this planet for everyone's needs, but not for everyone's greed." Donald Trump's greed is insatiable. It is immoral. It is embedded by CEO billionaires who would rather turn their eyes away from a hungry child. And it is a national disgrace. They should be ashamed. $6.20. That's all it takes. That is what daily SNAP benefits are. $6.20 a day for each individual. the largest anti-hunger program in the history of the United States. The Trump and Republicans would rather families starve while CEO billionaires and the richest feast on tax breaks. This will be the first time in American history where a government shutdown shuts off SNAP food assistance. And it is all because of Donald Trump's cruelty and MAGA Republican fealty to Donald Trump and his cruelty. That is what we are facing here today. So just to summarize, in Massachusetts, right now, Governor Healy is stepping up to try to protect the most vulnerable. But it's going to be the elderly and the children who are most impacted. In Massachusetts, 40% of them lose their benefit identify as white, 18% identify as black, 27% identify as Latino, 260,000 out of the 1.1 million are elderly, 312,000 have a disability, 350,000 are under the age of 18, they are children. The working families in our state are going to be impacted dramatically if they lose this funding. It's going to have a dramatic impact on businesses. 20% of all the businesses in supermarkets, grocery stores across our country come from those SNAP benefits. It's going to have an impact on the food pantries that we have all across the Commonwealth as well. So this is an absolute crisis that is avoidable. Trump and the Republicans have an opportunity to return to Washington to negotiate with the Democrats so we can reopen the government and provide the health care and the food for every single person in Massachusetts and across our country. If he doesn't, 320,000 Massachusetts residents are going to lose their health insurance. 337,000 Massachusetts residents are going to see their health insurance policies go up by 50 to 75%. That's 650,000 people in our state just on health insurance, coupled with the 1.1 million in food assistance who are going to lose their benefit. So this is avoidable. Republicans are hiding all across our country right now. It is absolutely essential that we make them accountable for the pain that is about to be inflicted on innocent families all across our nation, and there's no one who is better standing up for those families than I honest. Great.
Senator, thank you for bringing us all together here today. I'm grateful for your partnership on really every issue of consequence. I have prepared remarks and I don't get to them, but I just have to say, we're Americans, so we know what it is to experience hardship. We know what it is to be resilient and to lean on one another to overcome those hardships. We've experienced hardship because of depression and recession and natural disasters and things outside of our control. What is just so unbearable in this moment is that this harm is not naturally occurring. It is being done intentionally. It seems that we have an occupant in the Oval Office that has contempt for every person who calls this country home. Because these are intentional choices. And bearing in mind, I'm just coming from Orchard Gardens, an incredible K-8 school in Roxbury. And I always go and spend time with the school nurses so I can better understand, what are the trends, what are the things, what are they seeing as children cross their threshold every day. And they're managing, and they have more than Band-Aids on skin needs, okay? But when I asked, what is the number one issue when children come to your office? Hunger. And that's why that school has had already for 15 years a food pantry. Now, we know a hungry child can't learn. So even before the big betrayal bill, and even before this Republican manufactured government shutdown, hunger was a crisis. We're so grateful to our good colleague and brother in this effort globally. Hunger has always been a moral failing, a humanitarian crisis, and a policy choice. Yesterday, I was in Chelsea visiting with our good friend Gladys Vega at La Colaborativa. They have a food pantry there. And they are being harassed and intimidated, waiting in food lines. I know what happened in East Boston as well, at the East Boston Soup Kitchen, by people whose hate is just spilling over. Then we are criminalizing that people are hungry. And none of this is naturally occurring. This is just with malice and hate and contempt. So, Senator, I thank you for bringing us together to underline and bold and highlight and scream from the rooftops that our most vulnerable are facing down a legislated, targeted, man-made hunger crisis. Thank you to Project Bread, Massachusetts Children's Services, all the experts today who labor in love, to care for how a moment of profound humanity, seeing a child to go to bed hungry. The inhumanity of making a parent choose between feeding their family or paying the rent, or parents already that gave themselves less so that their babies could have more because of the unjust binary choices that struggling families are already making. I'm reminded of Coretta Scott King. Starved is violence. Contempt for the working man and woman is violence. Neglecting children is violence. This is policy violence. It is violent, and this is the part that 100% preventable. Our families are now staring down a November 1st cliff when, for the first time in history, an administration could fail to fund the SNAP program. Let me say this, I've been in Congress 7 years. I was the first congressional class to be onboarded in the midst of a federal government shutdown. We did not leave. We were ever present, negotiating nonstop, because that's what we're supposed to do on behalf of the people and communities who sent us to Washington. And yet I have colleagues across the aisle who have been cruel enough to create work requirements around people, hungry people being able to get food, but they won't show up for work. That they've been on a vacation for a month. And then you have the occupant building ballrooms and send money to Argentina. This is not about a deficit of resource. This is a deficit of empathy. That's my teenage daughter was. SNAP, our nation's critical food assistance program, could lose funding as early as next week. This is the same program that feeds more than 42 million people in America, that includes 16 million children, 4 million people with disabilities, million veterans, as the senator spoke to. Massachusetts, over 1 million residents rely on SNAP to put food on the table. More than half of those cases are right here in the Massachusetts 7th Congressional District. Again, we already had a crisis. And I just want to remind folks, because I represent the Massachusetts 7th, one of the most disparate outcomes, including and especially around health. From Cambridge to Roxbury, difference of 30-year life expectancy. And we are a food desert. And we have lost 3 daily tables that were critical in closing that gap. We lost 1 in Cambridge, 1 in Roxbury, 1 in Mattapan, and I've lost 2 hospitals. So this is a healthcare crisis. Trump and his Republican co-conspirators would rather fill their own pockets than fill the stomachs of hungry children. Republicans have used this government shutdown to skirt accountability, hamstring our federal employees, and essential programs that help our families make ends meet, all while building gaudy ballrooms at the White House and handing out tax breaks to billionaires, all in the name, this is the rich part, of so-called efficiency and patriotism. There is nothing efficient about making people sicker and hungrier. There's nothing patriotic. There's nothing patriotic about starving a nation's children. Every day the Republicans keep our government shut down, the pain grows deeper. Children coming home from school to empty pantries, working people unable to make it through the day because their bodies aren't sustained, elders who need to eat in order to take life-saving medication. Food is medicine. Food is life. Food is dignity. And the pain of hunger does not discriminate by party. What has happened here? This is not a party. This is a cult of cowards complicit in wholesale harm to our shared constituents who won't take on the occupant because they're more concerned with keeping a job than doing it. And this is a tsunami of hurt on the horizon. And while I know the Commonwealth, the city, and these incredible community partners, both elected and community-based, will continue to stand in the gap, we need Republicans to take their foot off the necks of our most vulnerable and reopen the government. The House has not been in session since September 19th, and House Republicans have been on vacation for over a month. Democrats remain ready to negotiate with the government. So today we are calling on our colleagues across the aisle to come to their senses, to listen to the people, to negotiate an end to this cruel shutdown, because on the wealthiest planet on the nation on the planet, no one should go to bed hungry. Food is not a privilege, it is a right. And we will not stop fighting until that right is guaranteed for everyone. So we're here today in solidarity with every person of conscience, best exemplified by these incredible leaders here today. And I pray that our colleagues will come to their senses. I'm so confused about people who invoke God and speak a heart full of scriptures, a mouthful of scriptures, but walk with a heart. But I'm inspired by each and every one of you here today. And Senator, again, thank you for bringing us together to shine a light. Okay, so now we'll hear from Jennifer Lemmerman, Chief Policy Officer, our good friend, our leader for Project Bread. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Senator Markey and Congresswoman Presley for your leadership and for standing here with the people of Massachusetts today. I'm Jen Lemmerman. I'm the Chief Policy Officer here at Project Bread, and every day here through our food source hotline, we hear directly from people across the Commonwealth who are struggling to afford food. And this week in particular, we are hearing something new. Fear. A woman called yesterday, anxious and confused of what she had been hearing about changes coming. She relies on staff each month, and she said, I keep hearing different things. I just need to know if I'm going to have food assistance next month. The social worker from a community health center reached out, worried that their patients might lose benefits and asking for help finding those local resources, which we provided as best we could in the uncertainty that we have. And that uncertainty is spreading fast, and it's completely avoidable. If the Trump administration does not act immediately, 1.1 million Massachusetts residents will lose access to food assistance. 85% of them are children, seniors, and people with disabilities. These aren't statistics. They're our neighbors, our coworkers, and family members. 1/3 of SNAP households in Massachusetts are working families who simply can't keep up with the cost of living. And this isn't just about individual hardship. It's about the ripple effects as well across our entire economy. SNAP brings $2.6 billion to Massachusetts each year and supports over 5,500 local businesses. If those dollars disappear, so do jobs, and so does revenue. SNAP is our nation's most effective tool against hunger, providing 9 meals for every 1 meal offered through food banks. But emergency food providers are already stretched beyond capacity. They cannot absorb this flow. So let's be clear. This is not an inevitable consequence of the shutdown.
That's right.
It is a political choice, and one that could be reversed today with a single decision by the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Trump administration to use its SNAP emergency fund. Choosing not to act means choosing to let millions of people go hungry. At Project Bread, we're helping people navigate this uncertainty and find local food resources through our food source hotline. But no hotline or pantry can replace a functioning federal safety net. This crisis is preventable, and it must be prevented. We are calling on the Trump administration to act now and to ensure SNAP benefits continue so families can keep food on their tables. And to everyone listening, join us. Raise your voices. Call for SNAP to continue as of this time next week. And if you are experiencing food insecurity, call us at the Food Source Hotline. Because no one, not one person in Massachusetts or anywhere else in the country should go hungry when we have the power and the resources to stop it.
I'm going to now introduce State Senator Lydia Edwards. We're in her district right now, and she is a voice for everyone in the State House every single day. Senator Lydia Edwards.
I first want to thank Senator Markey and Congresswoman Presley for their advocacy and their fight in DC. And it has inspired many of us at the state level to look around at what we can do at this moment. While they're in the fight to make sure that our most vulnerable are fed, while they're in the fight to make sure that healthcare and access to affordable healthcare is something that will continue. While they're basically to assure that we are a nation that still remembers empathy. While they're in that fight, we have seen and heard from them, we are called to act as well at the state level. At the state level, we are in the midst of producing a supplemental budget that is not only looking at the shortfalls in our state budget that we annually do this, but also now having to account for the fact that the federal government, in many cases, the Trump administration has simply abdicated their role. And are not releasing funds that were already, by the way, approved in many cases. And in other cases, quite frankly, are punishing states that just didn't vote for him. It's a vengeful force. It's a vengeful perspective in the way in which he is choosing to govern this nation. He governs with vengeance, not with kindness, not with perspective or any form of empathy. Now, so we have to accept that that's the data and that's what we're receiving on this end. So our call to action at the state level is looking at our school meals, universal school meals, and looking at our millionaires tax and other forms in which we can continue to fund to function our functioning government. But I'm also proud to say that yesterday, the state Senate took up my amendment to create an eviction and foreclosure moratorium in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for federal workers and service members. It's one of the first in the nation, but it shows that in this moment, unanimously, by the way, our Republican colleagues, all of us stood together. It was a roll call vote, proudly passed to make sure that we understood that this is our call to act at this moment. And what we can do is ensure that the failure of the Trump administration does not add to the fears and the lived experience of the people here. That their inability to do right by them doesn't make their lives worse here. And that is what we're doing at the state level, to push not only the supplemental budget in terms of dollars to feed and to keep our constituents healthy, but also looking at the federal workers who are furloughed or accepted. And what that means is they're working. They are working and not getting paid. Federal workers are working, not getting paid, and due to that, they cannot get unemployment. Let that sink in. Going full-time regularly and not getting any money. With the hope, well, we used to have hope that we would be getting back pay, but all of a sudden, through the cruelty, maybe we just won't get it. We cannot rely on hope. We have to rely on action. And so we're acting. The supplemental budgets will then go to conference committee starting next week. And I know my colleagues, the State House, the Commonwealth will be looking out for our own as much as we can here at the state level to back up the Herculean efforts of our colleagues in DC who are down there swinging and fighting every single day. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank them for those efforts. To thank you, Senator Markey and Congresswoman Presley. I want to acknowledge also my colleague, Adrian Monroe, who's at the state level as well, who is fighting every single day to make sure folks at East Boston are fed and assured that they are also protected. And for this opportunity to speak today and promote that. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Gigi Colette. She is the city councilor for East Boston, the whole city of Boston, and representing actually most of our states. Welcome,
Thank you all so much for being here. We are so proud to have an organization like Project Red here in East Boston. And I love being here. I love coming here. It reminds me the incredible work that's being done by all of the food organs in Boston and Massachusetts. But I regret that we are here. It's actually pretty tragic that we are here today. Hunger, we know in East Boston, but in Boston and Massachusetts, across the Commonwealth, hunger is extremely prevalent. Those are in this work in the trenches see it every single day that the lines are only getting longer and that the demand is only growing. And so for this to happen in this moment, especially after we've gone through COVID and we have all of these organizations, these community-based organizations doing incredible work, doing what they can to keep the pieces together, for this to happen is immoral, it's abhorrent, and it's cruel. And I think that they know, and we know, that the cruelty is the point. And there has been a lack of empathy, it's already been said so eloquently by my colleagues here, and I feel so lucky to have the leadership that we have here in Boston and in Massachusetts, and our congresswoman, and our senator, and our state senator, and our state representative. We have a representative from the mayor's office here as well. We're very lucky to stand with all of our community leaders here as well. Thank you for everything that you do every single day. The cost of groceries, I think it should be said, hasn't come down under this administration, no matter what was promised. The cost of living has skyrocketed under this administration. And to cut off a basic human right, which is food, a basic human need and necessity, is again just so cool. And it's ironic that it's coming at the same time, and it's already been said, it's ironic that it's coming at the same time as this administration builds a gilded ballroom where they fund $170 billion to terrorize our beloved neighbors here in our immigrant communities, or giving tax breaks to billionaires. We are punishing children. We are punishing seniors on a fixed income. We're punishing pregnant individuals who need this nutrition to build a healthy baby, people with disabilities. People who need to eat whole, nutritious food are not the problem. We know where the problem lies. It's already been said, we are not resource poor. As the wealthiest country in this country, we are not resource poor. There are 1.1 million people that are going to be affected by this in Massachusetts. This has the potential, what if this does happen, and we're doing everything we can so that it doesn't happen, but if it does happen, this could quadruple the stress on the food organizations that are doing incredible work. Here in my community, the East Boston Soup Kitchen, the Grace Federated Church in Charlestown, Harborside, that could add 4 times more people to their lines. Think about what that will do to them. These are volunteers. These are beautiful, empathetic, compassionate people who are just trying to do the best that they can. We need the Republicans to come back and do their jobs and just simply feed people. This is the right thing to do, and this is the whole thing to do. And I'm going to uplift the ask by Project Bread, which is to consider that $5.8 billion in USDA funding to close that $8 billion gap. But again, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you, Senator, for bringing us together. Congresswoman, for your incredible work down in DC. We are so lucky to have you, and just everybody here that's doing the work every single day to protect our most vulnerable. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Councilor. Next, we're going to hear from Andrew Morehouse, Executive Director of the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts. Welcome.
Well, when I get to speak halfway through our guests here, including myself, I get to think of what's already been said, not repeat it, and kind of wing it. So that's what I intend to do, because I think there's certain things that I think it's important for everyone to know. I'm the Executive Director of the Food Bank for Western Massachusetts, but by no means am I an expert. I would venture to say that none of us are experts. The experts are the people who have to live with food insecurity day in and day out. And that's who we listen to, and that's who we learn from to do the work that we do. And you heard the numbers, so I'm not going to repeat the numbers. But we are many, and we are strong. I am representing only one of 4 food banks across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. There are 200 across the country. There are over 800 member or partner food pantries, meal sites, and shelters across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that receive food from food banks that in turn receive our food assistance, our inventories of fresh, nutritious food from federal and state government investments and from the private food industry, including local farms. And as you heard from, we have the support of literally tens of thousands of volunteers across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And we are members of a Feeding America network of food banks that's 200 strong and that have 64,000 pantries and meal site members across the country, and literally tens of thousands of more volunteers. This is communities coming together to step in and help individuals who are living with food insecurity day in and day out because they are making excruciating choices between paying their rent, paying utilities, buying medicine, putting food on the table, and so much more, as you've heard, when the cost of living is so high. That's what we do here. We have a vision as a member of the Make Hunger History Coalition and serving on the advisory council that we can end hunger. If it can be done anywhere, it can be done in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I'm a proud resident of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, formerly from New York State, but I'm glad I'm here because the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is a state of first. You heard that we are now the first state that's on the cusp of passing a moratorium on evictions, but we're also a state of first that goes way back in time. We were the first state to pass child labor laws. We were the first state to pass a minimum wage law, and it goes on and on and on. So we can do it. We can end hunger, but right now we can't because the federal government doesn't have our back. I lived through and worked during the Great Recession, 2009 to 13 or so. I was around at the food bank also during the pandemic, and we had the federal government's back. That's not the case now. We must insist upon the federal government, Congress, the White House approving the funds needed through the SNAP replenishment fund so that we can get SNAP benefits out to the more than 1 million people in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, because food banks can't do it. As you heard from my Project Bread colleague, for every meal that combined all food banks provide across the country, the federal SNAP program provides 9 meals. There's no way that the food bank network of pantries, of meal sites, of volunteers, communities coming together can replace that. Feeding people, providing food assistance, access to nutritious food is a human right. We've said it, and I'm saying it again. And we need the federal government to step in and do its part so that we can get closer someday to ending hunger as we know it. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Sandra McCrew, President and CEO of the Children's Services of Markey. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I am honored to be here. Thank you, Senator Markey and Congresswoman Presley. I just love that when I'm around you, my head comes up and my shoulders go back. Honestly, thank you so much. Thank you for your remarks. I often say that when this country catches a cold, poor communities get pneumonia. And today, the truth has never been clearer. Let's be honest, communities of color, low-income communities do not choose struggle, I'm sorry. They do not choose hunger. They do not choose poverty. They are often the victims of systems and decisions that hold them down while others move forward. And now, they're being asked to bear the weight again through cuts to the very programs that keep families fed and housed. So I was thinking about this, during COVID, the nation woke up to the fact that people who cleaned our hospitals, people who picked up our trash, all the service industries were essential workers. They had to go to work, COVID or no COVID. And now, post-COVID, those same workers who are working 2 and 3 jobs, the night shift, only to get up to work 9 to 5, maybe to get a nap between picking up their children and taking them to some activity that creates normalcy. Now, we're going to dispose of them? I don't understand that. it is not in my conscience to understand that. They are not disposable. So it is not only through organizations like Project Bed that can hold up the gap that is here, but it is through government funding that makes their work possible. It makes our work possible. Children's Services of Roxbury serves more than 6,000 people per year. Parents who are rebuilding their lives, young adults finding their footing, elders trying to live the rest of their days with dignity. We see their determination. We see their potential, but we also can face nonprofits like ours. We cannot partnerships from the and from the private sector. What I know, 1 in 4 have mentioned our top recipients are children. Another 1 in 4 are older adults. Their needs are not extravagant. They're not building ballrooms. Their needs are essential. If SNAP fund lapses, the Greater Boston food pantries will be overwhelmed overnight. More than 1 million people, 1.1 million people, working families, seniors, people with disabilities will lose their main source of food. This is not a line item on a spreadsheet. This is a moral crossroad for this nation, because services to others is the measure of our own humanity. It is the measure of how we want to be as a country. It is a test of our own democracy. This is not a budget crisis. At its core, it is a crisis of humanity.
Yes.
We must never look upon people in need as a burden to the system. They are part of the system, and they are part of us. The workers, the caregivers, the neighbors, the backbone of our community are standing at risk for no other reason than a political decision. It shocks me that decisions like this are coming from people who don't even do their own grocery shopping. In the richest country in the world, no child should go hungry. No elder should have to choose between food and medicine. No family should go unseen or unheard. The preamble of our constitution says, quote, promote the general welfare. That means all of us, not just some of us. So let us rise to this calling. We have to. Let us see every person not as a number, but as a neighbor, not as a burden, but a blessing, not as them, but as us. Because when we choose humanity, we strengthen the nation we all call home. And when I tell you I pray for this nation, and when I say earnestly, God bless our leaders and thank you. Thank you for all you do, and God bless this country.
And next, we're going to hear from Robin Burns, Executive Director of the Salem Pantries. Welcome.
Thank you, Senator Markey, for convening this important press conference, and to you and Congresswoman Presley for your continued dedication to support food security across the Commonwealth. Thank you to Project Bread for hosting this event today, and my colleagues for their unwavering leadership during such a challenging time. As you've heard throughout today, a delay in SNAP funding due to the federal government shutdown will have a cascading effect across our food safety net. While vulnerable community members will feel immediate impact and be forced to make hard choices, the disruption will also strain already overextended food access programs. As a result, many families are facing even greater uncertainty about whether they will have enough food to eat in a few weeks. Over the past year, the Salem Pantry served more than 31,000 individuals across Essex County, many of whom also have SNAP benefits. In a year where we've already struggled to maintain consistent resources, this potential SNAP disruption threatens to further weaken already fragile safety. This instability is particularly concerning as we approach the holiday season, where grocery prices will rise, and families are already stretching their budgets to cover essentials such as heat, medical expenses, and other daily costs. Food banks and pantries, as Andrew indicated, are experiencing their busiest time of the year, and any reduction in SNAP benefits will only increase the demand for food assistance. The food bank and pantry system cannot cover the massive gap that would be created by such an impact on SNAP. Still, we remain steadfast in our commitment to ensuring that everyone in our community has access to fresh, healthy food. Massachusetts has always taken a leadership role, demonstrated by our elected officials here today, Project Bread, and others. And this is embodied by the vital work currently of the Make Hunger History Coalition. Like Andrew, I'm also a member of that great coalition, and the governor's anti-hunger task force. Moments like this require all of us to come together. We must take action to support the most vulnerable in our communities by preserving this essential right of food. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I want to add here that the Women, Infant, and Children's Program is about to run out of funding in early November as well. And 50% of all children in the United States, infants in the United States, are on the Women, Infant, and Children's Program. That's about to run out of funding as well. So in crisis, it's across the board. Trump is attacking every program that supports the most need in our society. So love to take any questions that anyone may have.